Hello and welcome to this history podcast. This is the first of many, and the best starting point to start with paper one when it comes to the interwar years is to look at the Treaty of Versailles. So the Treaty of Versailles was put together straight away at the end of World War I, and it was to decide what was to be done with Germany and the outlook of Europe in the future and the rest of the world. Now, the Treaty of Versailles was decided by three main men, which are now called in history the Big Three. Now, actually, there was 32 countries that were at the Paris Peace Conference, but the three biggest countries there were France, Great Britain, and the United States of America, the three most powerful countries. And history, as we know, is sometimes dictated by more powerful countries, and it is no different here at the Treaty of Versailles, where these three major countries had most of the say on what to do with Germany. So when it comes to paper one, you're always going to get a question on the Treaty of Versailles, and the best starting point therefore is to look at the Big Three in particular. Now, in this picture at the top right, we've actually got four men. And sometimes some cartoons do refer to the Big Four. But the reason why we only really focus on the Big Three is because they had the most say and the most to do with making the treaty. So, today we're just going to look at one of the Big Three. Now, if we look at this picture here, we can see the four main men, and the one that we're going to focus on today is this man here. And this man's name was Georges Clemenceau, and he was the leader of France at the time, at the end of World War I. Now, going back to the picture, the other men, so the man to his right, we have Woodrow Wilson, who was the President of the United States of America. We have Orlando, who was the leader of Italy at the time. And we have David Lloyd George, who was the Prime Minister of Great Britain. Now, Orlando doesn't really come up very much, and like I said, it's because he didn't actually have that much say at the Paris Peace Conference. But this is a very famous picture because this is the first picture that was taken after the treaty had been signed by Germany. But like I said, today we're just going to focus on one man, and that's the man circled in red, Georges Clemenceau. So, what we need to look at is his aims and his motives. And aims and motives are two completely different things. So first of all, aims. Aims is what he wanted to get out of the Paris Peace Conference. And motives is what drove him to want those aims. Why did he want those aims? So try not to get confused between the two. Aims is what he wanted, and motives is why he wanted it. And so, like I said, we're just going to focus on Georges Clemenceau. Now, Georges Clemenceau was the leader of France, and he's a man with a huge bushy moustache, as you can see in this picture here, and he has a bald head, and that's the best way to remember him. So if he ever comes up in cartoons, just remember the big bushy moustache and the bald head. And he's sometimes portrayed as one of the shorter gentlemen as well out of the Big Three. Okay, now, the quote next to Clemenceau here kind of sums up his attitude at the time. So he's going to the Paris Peace Conference, World War I has ended, and he has this attitude. There are 20 million Germans too many. So straight away, we know that his attitude towards Germany is going to be extremely harsh. But why does he have this extremely harsh attitude towards Germany? So what we need to look at is his motives. Why has he got this opinion? Well, the easiest way to work out that is to look at this picture here. And it is a picture of a hotel from northern France, which has been obliterated. Okay, it's left in ruins. World War I has ended, and a huge part of the French landscape has been ruined by Germany at this point. And France is left to pick up, with all this damage, So World War I was the worst war of all time. Okay? And it left large parts of France destroyed. Now, obviously, because large parts of France had been destroyed in World War I, and it was the worst war of all time, a lot of French people, and when I say a lot, I mean most French people, demanded some kind of revenge. Okay? So his motives for hating Germany and saying there are 20 million Germans too many is because of what we've got over here. Okay? World War I was the worst war of all time, and large parts of France were destroyed, and the French people demanded that he seek revenge. Now, another motive is that he had to protect his French Empire. The French Empire was all over the world at this point. Large parts of Africa were under French control, and Southeast Asia. So he wanted to protect those as well. So he had to ensure that Germany was weakened so he could protect his empire, and also to bring the revenge that his people wanted. So, what were his actual aims then when he came to Paris? Okay, his aims were he wanted revenge, and he wanted to punish Germans for what they had done. Okay, I can't stress enough how much he wanted to seek absolute revenge and punish them to the maximum extent. He wanted to make Germany pay, and we will look at what came out of the Treaty of Versailles in the end, so you're already kind of guessing, well, what does that mean? Well, it's linking to reparations, but he just wanted to make Germany pay for the damage done during the war. So that, for example, this here could be reconstructed, okay? So that the hotels could be rebuilt, that large pieces of landscape would be repaired, and therefore rebuild Germany back to its greatness. France back to its greatness. And he also wanted to make sure that Germany was weakened, so that France would never ever be invaded again. What we have to remember is that in 1870, a large part of France had been taken off Germany. A large part of France had been taken by Germany off France, and that part was Alsace-Lorraine. Okay? And so Germany had been threatening France for many years now. And so at the end of World War I, that was 2 wars that had happened in the last 48 years. Therefore, this is quite a useful quote that Clemenceau gave. America is far away, protected by the ocean. Not even Napoleon himself could touch England. You are both sheltered, we are not. So this kind of sums up the attitude of Clemenceau. Wilson and Lloyd George were saying we can't be too harsh on Germany, but Clemenceau's making the point. If you look at the map of Europe, France, which is here, is right next door and joins Germany, which is circled in blue here. So you've got the green and circle of red for France, and you've got the brown and circled in blue of Germany. And look how close the 2 countries are. So Clemenceau was constantly paranoid that Germany was going to invade again, as it had already invaded twice in the last 50 years. So he wanted to make sure that he was protected. So he wanted to bring revenge, he wanted to punish Germany, he wanted to make them pay, and he wanted to weaken Germany so they wouldn't invade again. And that is basically the aims that he wanted. And the motives for that, well, look at the state of France. It was destroyed. Lots of French people had been killed. Lots of homes had been destroyed. And he wanted to make sure that his French Empire was kept intact. So just to end on a quote, and it links next time to when we do Lloyd George, When asked how he thought he had done at Versailles Conference, Lloyd George replied, "Not badly, considering I was seated between Jesus Christ and Napoleon. And Napoleon in history is seen as an aggressive, angry leader." And that's how Lloyd George was summing Georges Clemenceau up, as angry and aggressive and demanding. And that's how you have to remember Clemenceau. But you have to remember he was angry, aggressive and demanding because he wanted to protect France at any means possible. So next time we'll be looking at the other gentleman in the picture, David Lloyd George and Woodrow Wilson. Thank you. Bye.